picked up a real special flick tonight, babe. You got your special 3D glasses, I hope, I hope, I hope. Am I popping out at you? Am I leaping right off your screen? Well, of course I ain't, you dummy. This isn't the 3D part yet. This is just the 38D part.
Hi everybody, so I had a recent pickup that I thought was appropriate for Halloween, so I go ahead and put it up here. We have part of the Midnight Madness series with Elvira The Mask 3D. I have the VHS tape here. Put some pictures at the end as usual, and a whole set of 3D masks, and these are actually kind of cool because they are branded for the mask, so otherwise they're just the standard blue and red, but it's cool that they have them actually branded for the movie. Pretty nice, and you can have a couple people in the room watch them. And the 3D actually works, fairly well for what it is. On a VHS tape here, definitely on a CRT. If you have a newer TV, I don't think it would work very well. I'm not sure why you'd have a VCR hooked up to an HD player, but whatever. So the mask is a rather banal 1961 Canadian horror picture that got terrible reviews at the time, but has a little bit of interesting staying power thanks to things like this. Elvira tackling it here. It's a type of horror movie that is the perfect fodder for something like Elvira or Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's the story of an archaeologist who finds this ancient mask that he thinks is driving him crazy with these insane fever dreams, and he thinks it's driving him to murder, and he goes and sees his psychologist who definitely thinks it's something else, and it can't be this magical mask. It's something else, a deeper issue, and tries to get into it. But before committing suicide, the archaeologist sends the mask to his psychiatrist, who then becomes haunted by this obsession with trying to figure this thing out, and it's calling to him and talking to him, and it's really starting to destroy his life too as he gets into this obsession, because he feels that when putting on the mask, he's entering another part of the human mind, and through these dreams, if he could just get control of it, if he could just try and understand them and explore these crazy acid trips that it takes him on, he could really understand something deeper about the human psyche, about the internal workings of the human mind, more than anyone has ever been able to comprehend before. And it's one of those it's this impossible goal he'll never reach. It's never going to happen, but he keeps going back, and progressively things are getting worse and worse. And it's kind of an interesting idea that really could have gone into an area that was philosophical and fascinating, and really asked some poignant questions and explored them, but it consistently falls short of that. And it's split into really two different sequences. You have the real world, trying to uncover the mystery of what's going on, that really is just kind of boring in a way. It's really not presented as well as it could have been. It doesn't really follow through with the questions it begins to ask, and it just feels kind of a mediocre picture that could have been intellectually fascinating, but just kind of dumb and bland, really. And then you get into these moments where he can't resist any longer, and he wants to put on the mask. It's calling to him in his mind. You hear this voice of the mask, and you as the audience, it's a constant interactive thing where it's a 3D movie that's not fully in 3D. It kind of keeps the audience involved by having moments that are in 3D, and I do like this gimmick very much, even though, even reviews of the time said it wasn't handled as well as it could have been because it did feel very gimmicky. It still is a little more interesting where the real world stuff is 2D, and then when he's being called by the mask and put on the mask, you as the audience then put on your 3D glasses, and then the actual crazed dreams that he has are the parts that are in 3D, and that's kind of a cool idea. And those are actually the only moments of the film that for me truly work, and I would rewatch and think that it makes watching the film, especially like a first time with a group of friends, it kind of work. You do your own sort of like Mystery Science Theater moment with a bunch of friends. The rest of the film does kind of drag on because it's just not as good as it could have been, and it leaves a lot of things unanswered and plot holes, and just it's not cohesive enough to really work, but it's just enough story to give context to these dream sequences that are just bizarre and weird and sometimes nonsensical, but it's just strange imagery that Again, nothing about it is truly extraordinary, but it's very fascinating and interesting and bizarre in a way that captures your attention, and I actually feel like they're worth watching because it's very creative and interesting. The 3D is done well enough that it adds a tiny extra layer to it. So I actually enjoyed those little parts throughout the movie, and I kind of wish more of the movie was that, because it's just so bizarre and weird that it makes it fun to watch. And of course then you have the bookend with Elvira and her little jokes and things like that, and that I think also adds something to it too. I think watching the movie by itself isn't quite as good as having a little bit more of a humorous, lighthearted bookend there. I think that really helps, so definitely a release like this I would prefer over just a standard release. I do think this thing has been revisited for later 3D releases down the line. I think it's possible, I'm not sure, but as far as the Elvira one, definitely this was really cool to grab on VHS here. I was very excited to grab this because I do like Elvira, and I like older movies that are the type that something like would be an Elvira movie or Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode that also have something additional that's kind of fun and gimmicky. So of course the 3D with the branded glasses, that was a pretty cool pickup, I thought. And again, not a great horror movie, but some kind of interesting elements that make it fun within a humorous context and just make it an enjoyable, entertaining thing. It's not something that is frightening. It's not something that is really going to make you question anything. It really doesn't have the poignancy that I think it thinks it has, but overall it can be a very fun experience, and I was really happy to grab this.